This is a new first for us.
Oh, yeah? What?
Well, we are incredibly late, so it's the first one we've actually recorded after the deadline has already passed.
I blame you for that.
That's not my fault. Things got in the way. The real first is that it's a Western, and it's the first Western we've ever done on the podcast.
In my second
Western.
2.5.
No,
2.5.
No.
Yeah.
What was the 0.5?
1,000 Ways to Die in the West?
That's not a Western.
It's in the West?
It's not a Western.
Well, I mean, I think Seth MacFarlane might fight you on that.
He's wrong. It's a comedy set in the West. Not the same.
So, okay, define a Western then.
A movie that takes place in the West that's an action movie. That's not a comedy.
Now I'm going to need to wiki that, because when does it say it has to be an action movie?
I don't know how I feel about that, because that would then preclude Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
From being a Western.
So, I've seen 3?
I don't know. We're going to have to put that up for a vote. Does 1,000 Ways to Die in the West count as a Western?
It says, this is literary, though. Never mind.
All right.
Neither here nor there, but regardless, let us know if you think 1,000 Ways to Die in the West counts as a Western, because apparently some people don't. Also
Blazing Saddles. I would say Blazing Saddles is closer to a Western than...
Why? Just because it's got nostalgia attached to it?
It's just a better movie than 1,000 Ways to Die in the West.
Have you seen 1,000 Ways to Die in the West?
Yes. It's not Blazing Saddles. Come on.
Okay, we'll leave it to you guys to decide. But anyways, the movie we are doing today...
is not any of those movies. It's the...
Magnificent Seven.
Well, I was going to say it's the remade Magnificent Seven,
right.
Not the original.
Which is not a straight remake. It's like a reimagining.
Right. It's an off remake, so they don't directly parallel. It's not the same characters in the same exact situation, so forth, blah, blah, blah.
But they took inspiration from it, which the original was also a remake as well.
Of Seven Samurai, which is itself a retelling of a Japanese folktale.
This is the remake that never ends.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like just remade over and over and over again.
Basically. Anyway, so I'm Shay.
I'm Tyler.
And this is Cinematically Correct. You want to start with like your first thoughts on the movie, or?
I don't know what it was about this, but there was really gorgeous scenery and gorgeous colors. I don't know if they were using a different camera style.
You said that the whole time, and it's funny because we watched this movie the same day that I was watching DJI's release of like their cameras. And one of their cameras is called, like, the Zoom or something, and that's their focus, is, like, the colors. And, like, it said, like, if you're a color maniac, then you're going to want this camera. And I'm like, I wonder if they used
Didn't it seem like there was just over the top color? The greens were greener, the blue was blue. Like, it just seemed like a crisper color.
Or maybe you just had your glasses on that night or something.
I always wear my glasses. It was definitely better picture quality than the original, although the original is still...
That's not fair.
I understand it's not fair, which is why the original is still my favorite of the two.
It definitely had a very different feel than many movies I've seen.
Right.
It was gorgeous.
I don't know how else to explain it. It looked different than most movies I've seen recently.
I will agree. We'll have to research further, I guess, to figure that out, because apparently you were so entranced by it, but you didn't figure out what the camera was.
I did not. No, I did not do that. On to the movie. Just a general recap, because I'm so good at those, and our fans love my retelling of the story. So the movie is similar to the original, which is about a town that is set upon by evil people. In this case, a robber baron by the name of Bartholomew Bogue. He's a very bad person that...
Bartholomew? I didn't catch that. Isn't that like Satan's name or something?
I don't know.
It is in like some... whatever. Anyways, moving on.
So he causes all kinds of problems in the town. The sheriff is in his pocket. And so the townspeople, specifically a woman that is really upset about him killing her husband, goes out and recruits a bunch of gunmen to solve the problem.
Did you mention that he like burned down the church and
first
killed a bunch of people laying in the ground? They
killed a lot of people. They were very disgusting. They spit in the church in like chewing tobacco. That's really gross.
Right, you skipped over all that. Why?
I don't know. I was going the general recap, but if we're going to go into specifics, yes, they invaded the church, disrespected the church, and then burned it to the ground.
Yeah, basically.
And then shot a bunch of people. Very, very quick way to establish the bad person in this movie. Like, there was no going back from that.
That's fair. I mean, but he was like the typical bad guy. Like, he fit all of the
right.
criteria.
It was almost, at least at the start of the movie, it was almost so over the top that he's clearly the bad guy. It's like, we get it. Move on, please. This doesn't really need to happen, I guess.
Right. I mean, it's like we didn't need all of the stereotypes checked off to know he's the bad guy. But
every single box down the... he didn't steal candy from a child.
He did make a child come up on stage and like
it was really
put his
creepy.
hand in a jar
of dirt. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That he didn't know was a jar of dirt. He thought it was probably some kind of evil snake, bug, something.
Right.
So bad guy. They hire a bunch of gunmen: Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, a bunch of other people, Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't really know the other names. If I have
no,
to
I just know Ethan Hawke is one of them.
Ethan Hawke, yes, that's the other one. To come kill all of the hired henchmen, and the movie's basically that, and that's how the whole movie goes.
Wow, great.
Yeah,
we're done. All right.
Well, that's just that's the summary recap. All right, so thanks for listening. Well, that's just the story. I mean, I had thoughts on the movie. First off, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask, what did you think of her character? Because I'm gonna go out on a limb. Now, first of all, I'll say I did not see the first Magnificent Seven. Tyler has, I have not. So just to be clear, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say that her character was made for this retelling.
I believe there was a female lead in the original.
Really?
I believe so, because this is back in the 60s when everything followed the prototypical arc of good guys win, bad guys lose.
Well, because I'll be honest, I'm a female, and I mean, I guess I'm kind of a feminist, but I really did not care for her character. I felt like there was really no need for it. I felt like I understood that she needed to get back at the guy who killed her husband. I understood that. But really, whether or not it was a male or a female really did not matter for the story arc. And it was weird that she subbed in for Ethan Hawke when he was going through what he was going through.
PTSD and that whole thing. Well, not Ethan Hawke. His character had PTSD.
Right. I don't know what his character's name is. I don't remember. But regardless, I thought it just felt weird. It didn't feel appropriate for the time. It just felt odd.
Well, I thought it did match if the roles were reversed, a man in that time period is not typically going to go out for help. He's going to try to fix it himself. Like if this was the 1800s and somebody shot my wife, I'm getting the rifle and I'm hunting him down myself.
Well, true, but I think in this situation there was too many people that one person couldn't do it on their own. He had an army. So they really needed more people in order to defeat that army. There was just no other way.
You only need one bullet to sneak up on him and shoot him specifically.
Yeah, but he still had an army. The army would still have come. So...
Not after the head is cut off. Cut off the head of the snake, it dies.
Yeah, but you have to get to him. You got to get through the army to get to him. I mean, if you remember, the way this movie played out, he was the last person to die.
First person to murder, last person to die.
Right.
I did see that.
So, regardless, I
did think it made more sense than if a man was out for vengeance on his family being murdered, because I would just do it myself. Like, I would put all the planning in and I would get all of the guns ready and...
Wow, hubris is real for you, eh?
No, I would like to be responsible directly for her murdering that person.
And she was.
Well, spoilers.
Well, okay, spoilers, but I don't know. It just... Maybe it's me. I just didn't... And I loved this movie. I will say I loved this movie.
Yes.
That part.
I also say that I'm going to switch topics, but Chris Pratt is just a very wonderfully sarcastic asshole.
He's wonderful. And honestly, this was one of the movies that he was more serious than normal.
He was more serious, but he was still very sarcastic, and that's partly because Steve McQueen was Steve McQueen back in the original. Like, Steve McQueen is Steve McQueen. And he's got that...
Oh, sure. Somebody who hasn't seen the original. I totally understand what that means.
He's in a lot of other movies where he's that kind of joking, good-natured action hero. So, The Great Escape, Magnificent Seven, like, that's his character, where he's just...
Yeah, and Chris Pratt, this is his character. It's funny because I guess they said that Chris Pratt really wanted to be in the movie, and they didn't really know where they could put him. And I guess they had, some phone call with him, and I don't know what the quote was. I don't remember, but he said something, and they were like, "Oh, that's your character."
I think he sang Shenandoah.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So yeah, which just put him over the top for that.
I mean, I love him in general. Like, he's wonderful in everything.
I think
he's a wonderful person.
The closest approximation of Stephen McQueen that we have currently. I don't have another person that would come to mind for that kind of serious but also funny type role.
Steve Carell?
Well, but not an action star. Steve Carell is more, he can be serious and funny, but he's not the guy that Arnold Schwarzenegger type action hero would go out and
Jackie Chan?
Well, Jackie Chan is Jackie Chan, but he's a national treasure both for China and the United States.
Okay, he's really close to what we've got.
Right, that's the only person that I can think of. Interesting reunion for the director Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke. It's been a while.
Oh yeah, what are they reunioning from?
Training Day, classic movie. Have you seen it?
I don't know. It sounds like one of those movies that like everyone thinks they've seen, and then I just feel like I'd watch it and be like, "Nah, I haven't seen it."
Oh my god! We've added like 12 movies to the list.
Wait, is this our first Denzel Washington movie?
Yes.
Like, what is wrong?
No, it's
with
not.
us?
Manchurian Candidate.
Whew. All right, I was gonna say.
No! Our first ever. We can't forget the first ever.
I got real nervous. I was like, man, we are slacking.
Denzel Washington took our podcast virginity.
That does not need to be in the podcast.
Well, it's there. It's retained, and it's going to be there for posterity.
Hashtag blame Tyler.
Whoa. We need to split off of the movie and talk about how that needs to die. For the love of God.
What? We have
it doesn't even make sense anymore.
In our last YouTube video, we have only 2 comments, and the top one is blame Tyler, so I'm just saying, it's catching on.
How is it blame Tyler when it's you singing?
Because they're saying that your punishment video wasn't as good as mine, so we should blame Tyler for the terrible video.
My punishment video is watching me do a kickflip, which I failed at miserably.
Which was hilarious, but I think...
So how is that not as good as you dancing and singing around?
The people just love me.
Yeah, which is bullshit. It's totally unfair. You've turned the people against me.
Well, that's what you get for not participating in social media.
You've turned me into essentially Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake.
I can turn you into whatever I want.
Yeah, that's not great. Back to the movie. I really did kind of hate a couple things.
Okay, go ahead.
One of them was the PTSD, which in the first one I didn't find so over the top for Ethan Hawke's character in this one.
Why did you hate it?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know if I just didn't need it in the movie.
So I actually liked that part. Okay, it's weird to say I like that. That's not really what I mean. But I appreciated the introduction of mental health, especially when it comes to gun control and all of that kind of stuff. I appreciated that. And I also really liked the bromance between him and, I don't remember his name, but... Billy, yes. Because that was adorable. I don't know if that was like supposed to be a bromance or what it was, but whatever it was, I was digging that. Like, that was adorable, and I just...
Well, I'm pretty sure there was some kind of similar thing in the original where there was a younger guy that looked up to one of the people and he tagged along.
Maybe, but it was just... I just loved everything about that. Like, I just thought that was a really nice, like, way to do it.
And I guess it does make sense given the period, because it's like 10 years after the Civil War had ended, and there were horrifying things that happened in the Civil War. Like, it was...
I do wish that they gave a little bit more background as to what caused the PTSD, because they really didn't go into, like...
I mean, he survived Antietam, one of the bloodiest battles in the war.
Right, but I mean, they didn't go into too much, so it was kind of like, okay, like, you kind of just had to infer. But didn't bother me.
Or as Chris Pratt calls it, the War of Northern Aggression. Eat a dick. You're from Washington State.
Anyway, what else did you not like?
That's basically it. I mean, the townspeople were useless in the fight when they were training him how to shoot. It's not that hard to hit a target.
So that was funny to me. So they're farmers, and they're in the West.
Where you need to know how to use a gun.
So that's my question. None of them? Like, I mean, it didn't seem like there was, like a small percentage that knew,
You need to know how to shoot if you're a settler in the...
So was that realistic that
no.
zero of them
No,
knew?
that was horrible. Like that just there's no explanation other than that adds to the drama.
Okay, because I was confused by that.
People back then settling the West, they knew how to shoot.
Okay. I thought that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not a historian. I don't really know how like life goes, but it just seemed very unrealistic to me.
I mean, this is back when, to go off on a history tangent on guns. So before the Civil War, it was the muzzle loading, the ball or the Minet ball, or like the one that actually shaped like a bullet.
This is really fun to watch, but yeah, you guys should see the hand. Then
they moved on. They moved shortly on after that to the lever action, which has the brass bullet. Or the case and the bullet, which was a revolutionary change. But they still have the rifling, so the bullets shoot well back in that time period. So the fact that they couldn't hit anything made me insane.
History lesson from Tyler.
Yes.
Nobody needed, but yay! Now we know all about guns. I'm so excited.
Can we just say that no one talks about drinking and guns in the Wild West? How is anything left standing?
When Chris Pratt was like playing with his gun while he was clearly drunk, I'm like, how many casualties had to have happened?
Lots.
Really? Right? Like they
survival of the fittest is the only explanation because the stupid drunk people got shot in the face.
That's what I'm thinking. Like it had to have happened, right? But like I've never heard of like, I don't know, like any kind of like death by drunk shooting.
Well, it was called the Wild West, but for that kind of name, it's kind of been romanticized. I don't have the whole drunken brawl gunfight in my mind, even though it surely had to happen at some point.
Either that or there had to be more gun control than we understand. Because that just, like, there's no way. We do really dumb things when we drink. If we're having a gun on top of it.
Well, not us personally, but people in general do.
Me personally, I don't drink alcohol, so I mean.
I also don't drink a whole lot of alcohol either. I mean, I will have a beer occasionally, but it's not like I go out and. But
you also wouldn't do it while twirling a gun on your finger.
No. I wouldn't twirl a gun on my finger, regardless of drunk or sober. Like, that's insane.
Right, so... Rule
number 1 of guns, it is always loaded, even if it's not loaded.
Well, right. So, regardless, that was weird for me, but, you know.
It drove me crazy, because that's not realistic. Like, that people know how to shoot guns back then. That's just what happened.
Oh, okay, we jumped topics. All right, then.
Back to the fight. I still don't understand why they didn't have the sharpshooter just shoot the guy in the boss from the bell tower.
You just jumped from beginning to end and skipped the middle, so that's
How did I skip the middle? What else in the middle? What do you want to talk about in the middle?
Well, I mean, so they get together a group of people from all different backgrounds and with all different specialties. So Denzel is kind of like the leader, and then there's the Indian who was like the knife thrower.
No, that was Billy.
Oh, Billy was a knife thrower?
Yes.
Oh, Indian was the
bow and arrow.
Okay, so they all had their own specialties, which I thought was interesting and cool.
Well, that was also part of the original. So they had a knife expert.
But in the original, they were not all different nationalities.
No, they were very much old school Hollywood whitewashed in the original.
Okay, but so they didn't do that here. It was all different nationalities. I'm pretty sure like most nationalities were represented. It was across the board.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It was very inclusive as a movie.
But can we talk about the peace offering that happened while these people were being selected? I think it was the
peace offering?
Indian that made the peace offering, although I could be
wrong. The organ, the liver or heart or whatever it was, the raw.
So he just dropped this horse, I think.
Deer.
Oh, deer. Okay. He dropped a deer off of his horse that we don't know when died. I'm going to have to presume it was relatively recent because otherwise, ew, is all I'm going to say.
He would have skinned it. And
so I'm assuming he just killed it and it was
fairly
coming back
recently,
from
yes.
it. Yeah. And then he just cut out the organ, bit it, and then gave it to Denzel, who then proceeded to eat it.
Yeah.
It was the most grossest peace offering I've ever seen in my life.
That did happen at times back then.
Maybe it did, but I didn't.
You didn't need to see it?
I didn't. It was disturbing on a lot of levels. I
think that happens in Dancing with Wolves.
I haven't seen Dancing with Wolves.
How can I? Oh, I'm just getting so ahead of myself. There's like 30 movies that you've added to the list.
Okay, well, anyways, we need to get through this movie before we do more movies.
So they add a bunch of people. We need to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio's character. because God help me, that voice.
First of all, I didn't even know it was him.
You did not. He was wearing he had a full beard.
I said I recognized him, though. I said I recognized him. He had a full beard. Yes. And the voice was just amazingly high-pitched.
And awfully sanctimonious.
But I liked him as a character.
I did. He could tone down the Bible rhetoric for me, thank you.
But he grew on me.
He does. He's a very good guy. I liked all the characters, really. They fit well together as a group.
They did.
Which is one of the reasons I like this movie. Not as much as the original, but the original is a timeless classic. But I did like the chemistry that they have between all of them.
Me too.
So, then they get to the town. They set up the defenses. They raid the mine, get all the dynamite from the company in California that had a direct line from the guy who invented TNT. Mm-hmm. Alfred Nobel.
Why are you pointing at me? They can't see you pointing at me, and it's weird.
Alfred Nobel. What is he famous for? You know?
I don't know. Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, he's the one that created the Nobel system. Because he made his fortune with dynamite that killed lots of people. So he wanted to give back to the world.
How wonderful for him.
Another piece of useless history and trivia.
I didn't know this was the Tyler Gives Us Useless Trivia and History podcast. Flipping off is not appreciated.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Blame Tyler.
Whoa.
So what did you think of the horses in the film?
They were in the film?
Well, so I'm used to like people dying in movies. Like I'm kind of desensitized to it at this point. But
okay,
I can't do it when the animals get hurt or get close to getting hurt.
They're not actually getting hurt, though.
I know. And I will say, I looked it up just because I needed to know. And I looked up PETA, but I couldn't find actual PETA stuff. But the American Humane Association gave this movie an outstanding rating for the way they treated the animals in the film. They apparently did all the right things and, made sure that they got the right water. And the ones that were, like, dropping down were, like, stunt horses that were trained specifically for that. And, like, so they were treated really, really well. But I could not, like, most of the movie I spent, like, oh, my God, I hope the horse is okay. I hope the horse is okay. Like, that was my...
I do say, I will admit to you that seeing animals go down in movies is more jarring.
Yeah, I Am Legend. Oh, my God. That movie haunts me.
Lord of the Rings. Where they...
Nobody cares about Lord of the Rings.
Well, the horses all die in that movie. Do you not remember the big fight scene where they all just go down?
I blocked out that nightmare.
Oh my God.
I say these things just to upset you.
How are we together? Sometimes I just don't understand.
We belong together. Da-da-da.
This is my life, people. You're welcome to this short little interlude between my existing life. Just you raising your eyebrows cannot be recorded for the podcast either.
I know. I'm just trying to get you on my side again.
Not going to happen. Lord of the Rings reference. They did kind of an odd Boromir scene where the guy got shot full of arrows and then nothing happened. I was kind of let down by that. When Vincent D'Onofrio should have killed that guy, shooting him in like one epic last stand. Really disappointed.
Oh! You're talking about when he just kept getting hit.
Yeah.
And he was like, obviously, like should be dead by now, but.
Right, but then in Lord of the Rings, when Boromir gets shot with all the arrows, he kills like 70 people.
Well, and that's usually how things like this go. Right. Like, they like have that one last thing of strength and
anticlimactic, and I was disappointed because Vincent D'Onofrio's character was supposedly like this giant bear of a badass that tackles people off horses.
Facts.
So, I did like the Native American fighting Native American scene, though.
Oh yeah, why'd you like that so much?
Well, it was very reminiscent of Last of the Mohicans, the dad going after the evil dude and just rocking tops.
That's true.
So it just reminded me a lot of that, where he goes total badass and like knifes him to death, and then kicks him off the balcony. I'm done talking about that.
You're done talking about the whole movie?
No, not just that moment.
Okay, well, good for you. Move on. That was weird.
Well, it was an interesting scene because they avoided the cliche of having the romance angle in this movie.
I am so happy they did that. When Chris Pratt talked to her about wearing pants.
Which would have been helpful.
But it seemed like it was going to turn into a romance. Like that, just the way he was looking at her, just the whole thing.
Well, the whole movie, he was trying to sidle on over to her.
It seemed that way, but they didn't do it, and I am so glad they didn't because as you know from the finest hours, I am not okay with shoving in a romance where it doesn't belong, and I really felt like in this movie it just didn't belong. It didn't make sense. It didn't belong.
It did not belong. I mean, it was part of the original. That's because it's the old school Hollywood, everyone needs a love interest type thing.
Well, so people still believe that. I've gotten some comments on my Instagram about the finest hours one saying that a love story needs to be there to keep people's interest. So I don't know how people feel about that. Maybe you guys can let us know. But to me, we don't need a love story just to keep our interest.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we see like a log cannon at one point that the villagers had?
I love how we jump topics because my brain just doesn't do that.
Yes.
I don't know, dear.
I can't not mention that because that is dumb. Really dumb.
Well, yeah, it would explode before it even worked.
And kill everyone that is trying to shoot it off. Yeah.
So you probably didn't see it.
Well, I'm pretty sure I did see something like that. Can we just talk about that Gatling gun shooting through in the entire town? Like, those bullets were unstoppable.
Okay, and is that not realistic to the Gatling gun, or?
Well, it's a big bullet, but at some point, it has to hit things and stop. Like, it's not going to go through 6 buildings and then a horse and a person. It seemed like they were more like cannon rounds, but it's a machine gun. It's the first ever machine gun.
A lot of things bothered you in this movie.
There were a lot of things that bothered me. It's not really bothered. It's just kind of you notice them. And then now that I'm talking about it, I have the ability to rail against them.
Considering that you like this movie, you've complained about it an awful lot.
I know, it's weird. Mm-hmm. While we're on the topic of the Gatling gun, I'd like to mention that Max wanted to murder me. And for those of you who don't know, Max is our dog.
Why is this related to a gun? My dog does not know how to shoot guns. I just want to...
No, the Gatling gun scene in the movie, we were talking about it, and then Max looked at me like it was my fault.
Well, there was a lot of loud noises. And
yes, but it's not how
you did put on the movie, so blame Tyler.
How is it? No, stop with the blame Tyler. It's not my fault that we were watching a movie and the dog took it personally.
But she did. And
she very much did hate me.
Now I need to have her watch the live action, was it Lion King?
Oh God, she'll hate that.
Was it live action Lion King?
I don't know, but...
No, live action Jungle Book. I want you to put it on for her because she hates that movie.
Great.
So yes.
Is that now on our to-do list?
Future podcast maybe?
Great.
So that we can talk about the terrible attitude my dog gives Tyler. Request it. We'll do it. Absolutely.
She took it personally. Like I had offended her.
You did, and you do a lot. Now, before we get to audience ask, because we're getting low on time, I did want to mention at least one thing. Did you know that Jason Momoa was actually thought about doing this film, but he had to quit because of Aquaman?
I did read that. I don't have it in my notes, but I did read that. Okay.
I mean, as long as he doesn't take Chris Pratt's spot, because we can't do that.
That's a neutral change at best, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt, but Jason Momoa now that adds a little bit in there that I kind of want to see.
He probably would have been a bad guy though.
Why do you have to ruin all my fun?
He was a bad guy, or not a nice guy in Game of Thrones, and does it very well.
He was great. It's fine.
Great. As long as he looks good without a shirt on, that's all you care about.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much all it is. I mean, and the hair.
The hair, the tattoos.
All of it. I mean, give it to me.
The hair. Speaking of hair, did you hear the story about the gentleman who played Red Harvest, the Native American gentleman?
Oh, I did hear the story, but the podcast needs to.
Oh, so apparently he got the part only because he showed up with gorgeous long hair, and then they didn't tell him that, so he cut it all off after he already got the part. And
wonderful.
It's one of those weird well, you didn't say anything kind of moments. It's that it's a unlucky accident, I guess.
Right.
And so they just gave him a mohawk instead because they had no more hair. Yes, we're running late.
We're running really low on time. I did want to say this was James Horner's final film. He was a composer for the film.
Only 7 tracks for the soundtrack.
And it was a really good soundtrack. And I just wanted to mention it because I don't want to, go past somebody who has such a great legacy that passed away. But we do need to do Audience Ask because if we don't, then we look bad. So I'll start with 4 Fat Guys because he's the top one, first person that ever commented. He said, why do they feel the need to remake one of the greatest American Westerns, which itself was a remake of one of the greatest films ever made? So why do you think that the remake was even done?
So that's a good question, honestly, because the original Magnificent Seven is one of my all-time favorite Westerns. And
so you still stick by that was better than this one?
Yes, I will stand by the original being better than this one.
Okay. Do you think there was a reason it was remade, or do you think it was a really good movie, so they wanted to kind of?
I honestly don't have an answer. I mean, studios sometimes want to remake classic movies,
and it makes me so mad sometimes.
Well, some of them are terrible, like just an unmitigated nightmare. This one was not a bad movie. It just there's no living up to the original. There's just not.
Right, but we did look up that there are some remakes that are better than the original.
Supposedly, I mean, True Grit is another one that was remade.
Mm-hmm.
And fantastically remade.
I loved True Grit. I never saw the original, so I can't speak to
well, me neither,
it was better, but it was amazing.
So,
True Lies was another one.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can't imagine him not being that character. Like, that's...
Little Shop of Horrors, which we've done.
Yes, that's true.
So, I mean, there are some movies where you gotta kind of think about that. But regardless, anyway, so you said you don't know. And then we only usually do 2, so let me find... How about Movie Geek and Proud asks, is there anyone you would recast out of the 7 to make the film better?
Interesting question. I mean, they all worked well together. I mean, it's not so much a recasting. I wish Vincent D'Onofrio's voice wasn't so high-pitched. So if he just brought it down an octave.
Okay.
But the cast worked well together. I mean, there's a bunch of fantastic actors. Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, Chris Pratt is the lovable action hero. He dies in this one. Steve McQueen does not die in the original.
Spoilers?
Yes. Well, you've already spoiled other things, so...
Rude. So you would not recast anyone? What about the bad guy?
He was a decent bad guy.
I feel like he would have been better bad guy if he was, what's the guy's name from Sherlock? My favorite bad guy of all time, ever. What's his
Moriarty?
name? Yes, Moriarty.
Well, I don't remember his name. It's the whole Giovanni Ribisi argument from...
Andrew Scott? Is that his name?
Something like that.
But regardless, I feel like he would have been a better villain in this.
I don't know. I mean, he was a fine villain. I don't know.
He wasn't that menacing to me. He didn't give me that, manipulative kind of...
Well, he's so over-the-top violent, it's kind of hard to imagine people putting up with it and not be like, you know what, fuck this, shoot you in the head.
Right, that's true, and I don't know. But other than that, as you know, I didn't like the girl, but honestly, I would just get rid of her part altogether.
Well, for me, the scariest villains are the sneaky ones that are not so in your face about it.
Right.
That's a better villain.
Moriarty.
Right. I will agree with you on that. He's a better villain. He's one of the best villains
of all time.
Recent memory, if not all time. Hannibal Lecter is also another one.
Okay, all right. I'll give you that. But anyways, so I don't want to beat those to a dead horse. I just want to make sure we did them. We are well over time, which is wonderful.
I have one last thing. I cannot not mention it.
Of course you do.
The cliche at the end of the movie that we talked about before we started recording, where the good guy is beating the bad guy pulls a gun and is looking like he's going to shoot the good guy, and then a gunshot goes off and then the bad guy dies.
Aha, the ladies only kill.
Well, right, at the end of the movie, and it's in every movie, it seems. And
I mean, I feel like they did it because she had to avenge her husband's death. It had to be her that pulled the trigger. And they're obviously not going to have her struggling with the guy because she's a girl and they don't do that. So...
Well, yeah, but Denzel Washington's character had a much better reason. His whole family was murdered by him.
I know, and I think that's why they, like, did all that. Like, they put that mirror to the actual real-life Lincoln County War and, like, made it really, like big so that scene felt so suspenseful and you were so into it.
Right.
But the movie was about her avenging her husband's death at the end of the day.
That's fair. It seems like that cliche scene where you hear a gunshot and then you're supposed to expect the good guy to be dead never happens.
So yet again, her part wasn't needed, is what we're saying?
Well, it was just the standard cliche movie ending scene where we've seen it a billion times.
Right, and it just wasn't needed.
It was unnecessary altogether.
I got you to agree with me.
Also, the cabin was in True Grit. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I threw that in there at the very last second.
Okay, so now final thoughts on the movie, rating 1 to 10 because we are well over time and I want to make sure we don't keep...
I'll give it a 7.75.
All right, I was going to give it a 7 as well. I'm not a huge Western fan, but Chris Pratt, I will watch him any day, no matter what he's in.
So many movies got added to the list. Fistful of Dollars, Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, okay. We are over time, so we're not going to keep...
Shane.
Oh, boy.
Keep going. I'm going to keep going. There's so many movies that got added.
Guys, we're over time because of Tyler, so William Tyler?
Stop with the blame. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I'm loving everything about this.
No.
Anyways, so what are we doing next week?
Next week is your pick, so I have no idea.
Yeah, but I have no idea either, to be completely honest. But next week we are doing Earth Girls Are Easy.
Right.
So,
Jeff Goldblum.
Finally bringing it back to a comedy. I feel like it's been forever since we've done a comedy at this point.
A sci-fi comedy.
I mean, let's not, bring it down.
I don't know. I've never seen it. You've never seen it. It'll be a nice change of pace again.
Yeah, but Jeff Goldblum again, so... Apparently we really like him, and I didn't know that. I wasn't informed of how much we like him.
He's apparently Hollywood gold, because every movie he's in is just a box office smash.
Is that why his name's Jeff Goldblum?
I don't know. I'm thinking it's his name that his parents gave him.
You don't know that. You think Cardi B is the name her parents gave her?
I don't know that.
It's not.
But
just facts. Anyways, so do you have anything else you want to add to the movie?
I think that's it. I've talked it out.
Yes, you have. So, thank you guys for listening. I wanted to give a thank you to Jake at Athos Music and remind you guys to check out our YouTube channel where we try to post every week. So, I'm looking forward to Earth Girls Are Easy for next week.